Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP-TV studio, AAMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Angus and Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had. Probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates and independents from coast to coast. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets, Hotel TV where applicable. Everybody else streaming, those on Chicago Food Favorites. Thanks for joining us on Facebook. Chicago Food Favorites, a fun group. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, favorite recipes. Make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And our friends over at Vacation Buddies are trying to give you a couple of nights right here in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer to a simple trivia question, let me get this out there for you. If you know the answer, call the number that I give you right afterwards and pick up your 2 free nights in Vegas, Orlando, or Branson, Missouri. Which of these cities has the tallest office building in America? Is it New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles? Which of those cities has the tallest office building in America? New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles? If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with this station, but they want to give you a couple of nights right here in Vegas, Orlando, or Branson, Missouri, if you know the answer to that simple trivia question. And if you do, call 888-576-5777. Call now. All right, jumping into college basketball. It's that time of year again, and it's that time of the week, so we want to make sure that we get out and discuss briefly the AP Top 25, the Coaches Poll, and the RPI, which there is a difference in these, and I'll get to them in just a minute. I'm going to run down from, we're going to go from we'll go from the bottom up this time. Receiving votes, not making the top 25, where St. John's getting 1, USC, they get 1, not number 1. NC State gets a few. George Mason gets 8. Auburn, War Eagle, they get 14. They're climbing up there. SMU 15, just ahead of Auburn. St. Mary's, the Gales, getting 17. UCF getting 18. Texas A&M 23. Miami of Florida 30. Wisconsin 37. Villanova 40. Miami of Ohio, a very good squad, at 49. Iowa 58. Kansas 60 votes, and the St. Louis Billikens with 92. Top 25 is staying the same at 25 as Seton Hall. Dropping down 3 slots to number 24 is Tennessee. 23, Utah State stays the same. 22, Clemson stays the same. Dropping down to 21 is Georgia. 20 stays the same at Louisville, and this is, by the way, the Associated Press. Florida, number 19, stays the same. Alabama drops 5 slots to number 18. Arkansas drops 2 slots to number 17. Virginia goes up 7 slots to number 16. Texas Tech drops 1 to 15. Carolina goes up 3 to number 14. The Fighting Illini of Illinois up 3 to number 13. Michigan State unchanged at number 12. Brigham Young down 2 to number 11. Vanderbilt, the Commodores, jumping into the top 10, number 10. Gonzaga drops 1 from 9 to 8 to 9. Nebraska goes up 2 in the Associated Press poll, and they are 2 to number 8. Up 2 to number 8. Houston unchanged at number 7. Duke unchanged number 6. Purdue unchanged at number 5. Michigan drops 2 with their loss to number 4. UConn jumps up 1 to number 3. Iowa State up 1 to number 2. Arizona unchanged at number 1. Now that's the AP. So the coaches poll essentially looks the same for the most part. They have Michigan at number 3, UConn at number 4, Purdue at number 5. Now, it doesn't make sense because Michigan lost to a lesser team. Now, remember, Purdue has one loss, but they lost to the number 2 ranked team in the nation at Iowa State. That was a tough one. They lost that one in West Lafayette at Mackey Arena. So technically, according to this, Purdue should be ranked number 3 in the grand scheme of things, but they're not. They've got Houston at number 7, which is not even in the polls for the AP seemingly. Just somehow they're fluttering about. And looking at the big differences here between the coaches poll and the Associated Press, honestly, it's really just at the top. And there's a few changes at the bottom. They've got Kansas at number 25, Iowa at number 23. But other than that, they're basically the same. Now, here's the confusing part of all of this. We say, all right, we've got these rankings, and then we have the ratings percentage index, the basketball RPI, which in my opinion, this is probably the most valuable. Think about this. The basketball RPI rankings, it measures team strength using a formula based on a team's winning percentage, their opponent's winning percentage, and their opponent's winning percentage, thus providing a comprehensive look beyond just wins and losses to assess schedule difficulty, historically used by the NCAA for tournament selection, but now largely replaced by newer metrics like the net ranking. Yeah, there is such a thing called the net ranking. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever heard about this one, but yes, this net ranking, you can kind of describe it as the official ranking system used by the NCAA for Division I men's and women's college ball basketball. That's right, that's the net ranking. So the NCAA evaluation tool, that's what it stands for. And of course, other prominent rankings, which are the ones I mentioned. But the phrase National Basketball Network may refer to an independent media outlet or content producer that provides its own ranking, but it's not officially governing or any governing body metric. Now, the official prominent basketball ranking, which is the net ranking, its primary sorting tool, they're used by the NCAA Selection Committee. Now, why wouldn't they use the RPI? Maybe because this adds a little bit more sex appeal, a little bit more sugar to the candy bar. I'm not really sure. But nonetheless, this is what the committee allegedly uses. And some things are good about it, some it's questionable. But it's an algorithm that essentially incorporates game results, strength of schedule, game location, and offensive and defensive efficiency. So when you're looking at these numbers, you say, okay, well, it would occur to me that the net ranking is probably closest to the RPI. So it would seem to me that the AP and the coaches poll, in my opinion, means more than the Associated Press, than the writers poll, because the coaches are out there seeing it, and they see it from a different perspective than the writers do. The writers are the writers. They sit in a press box, or they sit high above the court, or even court side, but they don't know the game the same way. Coaching knows it a particular way. But then when you say, all right, here's the coach, and then here is all the data, like I talked about with the RPI for the winning percentage, their opponent's winning percentage, their opponent's winning percentage, et cetera, and so forth. So the RPI seems to have the most value. And if you ask, well, how does it really work? Okay, so from a winning percentage, obviously it's the win-loss record. The opponent's winning percentage is the average winning percentage of all teams a team has played. Not will play, but has played. Also, they talk about opponent's winning percentage. So that is the average winning percentage of all the teams a team's opponents have played as well. So the formula, it is a weighted average of these three factors to determine the RPI, which, of course, the opponent's winning percentage usually weighted the heaviest, followed by the win percentage and the opponent's win percentage. Boy, say that 5 times fast. Nonetheless, it really focuses in on strength of schedule, simplicity, historical use, and we talk about its current use, and you say, well, geez, many states in high school, they use this in their high school athletics, but how come the NCAA doesn't use this when it comes to rankings, which would make a hell of a lot more sense? And why do I say that? Because when we go back to the poll, let's go back to the Associated Press poll, because that's what everybody seems to gravitate towards for whatever reason. And you look at number 5, Purdue, and you look at number 4, Michigan. Number 4, Michigan loses their last game, and they lose to an unranked opponent. Again, Purdue's loss came several games ago. They were ranked 5 last week. They're ranked 4 or 5 this week. But their loss came to number 2 ranked Iowa State. How in the world, in what world does Michigan belong as number 4 ahead of Purdue at number 5 when they both have 1 loss? And by the way, Purdue has 1 extra win that Michigan does not. It's 15-1 versus 14-1. None of that makes a lot of sense. So you have to ask yourself, why is the AP poll relevant when the RPI shows it remarkably different? Tell you what, we come back, we're going to dive into these divisions a little bit. Back here in a few minutes on the Sports Circus. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. 714-948-0100. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's the College of Southern Nevada Athletics, csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. Check them out, folks. All right, and a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our radio affiliates, including our friends over in Atlanta. Thanks for waking up with us, listening in on WDJY 99.1 FM Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Right down the road over in Auburn, Alabama, Columbus, Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama. That's WAUD, War Eagle, right there out of Auburn. And that's home of the Atlanta Braves. Thanks for driving home with us, listening in at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, up and down the Midwest, out to the West Coast. Those driving between sunny Southern California and fabulous Las Vegas, listening in on Highway Country Radio, 101.5 FM and 107.3 FM. That's home of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Raiders, and the Sports Circus at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, all the way out to our friends out in Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500 KHKA, and that is home of the New York Yankees, the 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. And thanks for driving home in the afternoon with us, listening in over there. Everybody watching on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, Spectrum, Wild Charter, and independent cable affiliates in select markets where applicable. Thank you for doing that, as well as Hotel TV, where applicable as well. Chicago Food Favorites. I'm just running through these, folks. Listen, I haven't written these things down. I'm just kind of rumbling and rambling these things off because we got to make sure that we make our announcements. We have to do what we have to do, right? And in the same light, we also want to welcome back everybody that is tuning in with us. And we always acknowledge a few select stations. And we do these because these are stations, boy, they've been with us for a very, very long time. And we just always like to call them out. So we give them a little extra recognition. And at the same time, we want to thank everybody else for joining us on all of our cable affiliates, Hotel TV, when they're watching and so forth. And also even those on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. It's a really fun food group. Talk about your favorite foods, your favorite restaurants, your favorite recipes, make some friends, have some fun. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Now, as a special gift from the Sports Circus to you, compliments of our friends at Vacation Buddies, at the top of the show, we gave away a question. And all you had to do was answer the question, call the number. You could have picked up a couple of free nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. Well, guess what? In case you missed it, I'm going to give it to you once again. So write the question down, write down the answers, pick the answer, then call the number that I give you afterwards and pick up your free nights in Vegas, Orlando, or Branson, Missouri. So the question was this: which of these three cities has the tallest office building in America? It's either New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles. If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777, 888-576-5777. Remember, Vacation Buddies is not affiliated with the station, but they want to give you those free nights in Las Vegas, Orlando, Florida, or Branson, Missouri. If you know the answer, call 888-576-5777. Call now. All right, so back to this RPI versus Associated Press. I happen to think in college basketball, they should be using to measure these rankings and to give a fair depiction and some kind of method to the madness of the schools, why they're ranked where, and so forth. It would seem to me that the RPI index seems to be a little bit more appropriate, if you will. And why would you use it over the net There's the net tool, that the net ranking that the NCAA uses for the formula for the Final Four, the March Madness, and all that stuff, right? So it takes, of course, it's that algorithm that takes the game results, strength of schedule, game locations, offense, defense, efficiency, and so forth, which is really good. Now, if you're not going to use that for your ranking, I mean, honestly, since they use it at the end of the season, it would only seem reasonable to either use, never mind the AP or the coaches poll, it would seem reasonable to use such a tool like the net ranking or the RPI during the regular season to compile their actual rankings in the first place. Because, look, the Associated Press, you have a bunch of writers. They're giving their opinions based off of whatever it is they feel. And at some point, some people are grossly off than others, and they're taking the mean or the median and so forth. And it just seems more reasonable. If you're going to put these in a numerical order, put these teams in some kind of numerical order, that would only stand to reason to use a metric that is consistent instead of a whole bunch of different writers telling you what they think the rankings should be. Now, that to me makes a hell of a lot of sense. So when you're looking at that, when you say we have the NCAA basketball coaches poll, right? And who is in it? Who are, better yet, I'm going to type this in. Who are the coaches that make up the NCAA men's, or we'll call BK, because now they're using different acronyms here, BK coaches poll. Now, to me, that makes a little bit more sense to find out instead of, again, just going with what we may or may not know. But that search engine that rhymes with a noodle, they say the NCAA coaches poll, football and basketball, are made up of a rotating panel of Division I head coaches, members of organizations like the AFCA for football or NABC for basketball, who vote weekly to rank, of course, the top 25 in their respective sports. Yeah, with the list published by USA Today. So for the 25-26 season for football, the board includes Ryan Day from Ohio State, Kirby Smart from Georgia, and while basketball poll, they feature Matt Painter from Purdue and Nate Oates from Alabama. Now, it features, it's not saying who's actually in it, but how the coaches poll works is there's a panel of coaches, a selection of head coaches from Division I schools to participate, weekly voting, right? Everybody gets a top 25 ballot, and then there's a publication. So, for example, in football, it's Ryan Day from Ohio State, Kirby Smart from Georgia, James Franklin from Penn State, Dan Lanning from Oregon, Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. In basketball, it's Matt Painter from Purdue, Nate Oates from Alabama, Scott Drew from Baylor, Greg McDermott from Creighton, and Adrian Autry from Syracuse. Now, you've got essentially 5 coaches named in these. And there are more coaches than just those 5 coaches. But if they have a rotating panel, how do they determine which coaches are going to be polling exactly when? And so, look, you could take a deeper dive into it. Of course, I'd like to do it right now just because we can. And even Wikipedia says in the U.S., the coaches poll is a weekly poll. Like I mentioned, the football rankings are compiled by the U.S. LBM Board of Coaches, which is made up of 62 head coaches at the Division I FBS level. That's a lot. All coaches are members of an American Football Coaches Association, which I mentioned, the AFCA. Basketball rankings are compiled by the USA Today Sport Board of Coaches, which is made up of 32 head coaches at the D1 level, at those D1 institutions. And all members are the NABC, or the National Association of Basketball Coaches, as I mentioned. And then, of course, they have for baseball and so forth and so on. But when we look at these, there's no real explanation of the rotation. Now, in college basketball, going back, it says beginning in 92-93, USA Today and CNN took over the publishing the coaches basketball poll for UPI. So beginning 93-94 basketball season, the coaches poll began publishing its final poll after the NCAA basketball tournament. From 93 to 97 seasons, the poll was co-sponsored by USA Today and, of course, Cable News Network and the NABC. Finally, in 97-98, the four-letter network joined the co-sponsors of the coaches poll along with USA Today and the NABC, where selected NABC members, that's what I'm after, serve as the voting block for the poll. Now, how the hell do we know who are the selected members, right? So let's do this. Let's take the NABC were selected members serving for the voting block for the poll. So let's just take that. We're going to look, folks, you could do this at home too, which is kind of cool because I'm the only show that I know about. This is the only show that I know about that actually does this kind of thing. I'm going to walk you through exactly how we get our information. Now, when you look at the results, you get all kinds of situations from results from the Citadel and from the National Association of Basketball Coaches, Privacy and Policy, and then there's all kinds of rhetoric. But you know what we don't find? We don't find a formula as to where those coaches or how they're selected. That's the part that's troubling to me. Go ahead and search it yourself, because it's almost like saying Roger Goodell is enforcing the rules of the National Football League. But when Roger Goodell has Rule 17, I did a whole show on Rule 17, by the way. If you don't know what it is, you better look it up. Roger Goodell could actually change the results of games from egregious errors within the game or something to the effect. Who is the one that's in charge of selecting within the NABC? That's what I want to know. Or how does that even happen? We don't have an answer on that. So they could be loading it up with their people or people that are like-minded in a particular way, which leans against either the statistics or maybe what the fans want. Now, that's kind of interesting because you may have 2 or 3 teams with the same record, and one may have a stronger strength of schedule, but rank below the other 2. Why? Who knows? That's an NABC thing. Back here in a few minutes, folks. Don't go anywhere.
If I was your mother and you had a drug problem, I'd grab you by the ear and make you call and get help. You can be in treatment tomorrow and start to get clean in 7 days. Follow Mom's advice and call the Detox and Treatment Helpline now. Write this number down.
800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. 800-814-8628. That's 800-814-8628.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. B-E-E-P-I-N autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Investors, keep listening to learn how to get your free gold report. A currency crisis is upon us. The U.S. dollar has been the world's reserve currency for over 50 years, but that is changing. It's time to protect your retirement. Decades of reckless borrowing and spending have critically weakened the dollar. The U.S. has become the world's biggest debtor with over $35 trillion in debt. Plus, the dollar's become weaponized. Countries are dumping it. Investors who wait until it's too late could lose big. There is one safe haven: gold. Diversify your portfolio with a physical asset they can't take away. Call the Reagan Gold Group right now and ask for your free gold guide. Here's our number:
800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. 800-876-7041. That's 800-876-7041.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by the Sports Circus. Make sure to check out thesportcircus.com's upcoming guest, their prior guest. Also, check out our partners page. Lots of great partners over there. And one of those partners is Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. That's Al's Number One Italian Beef, 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you can't make it over there for some great food, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Pick up your supplies there. Read about the Italian beef sandwich and its difference from that mediocre Philly cheesesteak sandwich. That's right, the mediocre Philly cheesesteak sandwich. It's not bad, it's not horrible, but I got to tell you folks, if you're going to compare a sandwich to arguably, of course I'm going to say this, arguably the king of sandwiches, of hot sandwiches, I don't know of a better sandwich than the Italian beef sandwich. It actually takes, almost, I'm going to guess, 20-odd hours just to prepare the beef in the first place. Unlike that Philly cheesesteak sandwich, just a pork cut of beef that's thrown on a flat top, fried up with some peppers and onions, and slap some cheese whiz on it, slap it on a bun, and send you on your way. And, of course, the only thing that they're not giving you with that is maybe some kind of an antacid, if you know what I mean. That's right. Because it's not really the best thing for you, but nonetheless, there's a difference between real cooking and just frying something up. Read about it at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Tell you what, folks, you won't be sorry. It is wonderful. And, boy, the first time you try it, you'll hear the chorus singing just like I did. All right, no, we don't get paid anything for saying that. Those are our friends. And frankly, it is really a wonderful situation. And whenever you're around something that wins, and look, they've been doing it since 1938. That's when they opened their store. But they actually created the sandwich about 118 years ago. That's a long time ago. But nonetheless, it is really that good. So I talk about it because I can. And because it's my show, and that's what I do. And it is what it is. Just like you talk about whatever's with your friends and your colleagues and your family and whatnot. Well, that's what we do too. We just happen to like food, if you know what I mean. Anyway, check them out at alsbeef.com. All right, welcome back to everybody on TV and radio. You know who you are. And we were talking college basketball. And so I was giving you a formula for the RPI and then why I believe that the writers' poll, basically the Associated Press, and the coaches' poll. The coaches' poll has some value, in my opinion, because they're out there seeing these people, seeing those players on a regular basis. But I would really discount, I would put the Associated Press top 25 arguably in last place in all the rankings because it doesn't make the most sense. The one that makes the most sense is the RPI out of the three that are used, but then they have the net ranking, which is used for March Madness. And I just said, why don't we just use the net ranking from day one and never mind the Associated Press? Why are they giving them free press in the first place? They seem to be severely left-leaning and tainting their viewing audience and or listening audience. I think the AP, in my opinion, is, well, a little bit too left-leaning, and they should be more centric. Nonetheless, their opinions are just that, just like my opinion is just that. Freedom of speech. I can say what I want so long as it's my opinion. Anyway, when we look at these rankings, I think there's a few things wrong with them, but largely they got the rankings right, whether it's the AP or the coaches or the RPI. But as you look at the rankings, you say, all right, let's take a look maybe at the standings and let's see what it translates into. But we have to go conference by conference. We're not going to exclude anybody here. So we're going to start alphabetically with the American East, the American Conference. Go to the East and the West. Look, when you look at the leaders in the conference, it is in many cases terribly misleading from an overall which teams are better standpoint. For example, UMass Lowell Riverhawks, right? University of Massachusetts Lowell. Good school. They're 3-0 in conference, right? That's great news. UMBC, the Retrievers, are behind them by one game, or better yet, a half a game. So are the Catamounts of Virginia. However, overall, UMass Lowell sits at 8 wins against 10 losses. Yet, they're undefeated in conference play. And so you ask, who is the best team in that conference? Well, at least we know in the East, without any question, the American East Conference is ruled by the Vermont Catamounts. They are arguably the best team in that conference, and they're at 10-7 overall. But, I mean, the rest of the conference, I would say outside of UMBC, they're 9-6. But when you look at the rest of the conference, I mean, boy, there's a lot to be desired. Whether it is NJIT, who traditionally and historically was just a really, really bad athletic program. That's New Jersey Institute of Technology, in case you don't know. And Albany, same thing. Bryant, really bad athletically. The Maine Black Bears, one of the great names, not very good overall. Same thing with New Hampshire, the Wildcats, and Binghamton. Now, they used to be SUNY Binghamton, but now they're just called the Binghamton Bearcats. Over in, well, the AAC. The AAC has some quality basketball being played. Showing the way is Tulane. The Green Wave are 3-0 in first, tied with Temple, though, but 12-4 overall, while Temple is 11-5 overall. Florida Atlantic, don't count the Owls out, at 3-1, along with Charlotte. Boy, Charlotte's not very good in football, but they're pretty darn good in basketball. And that's how it goes with a lot of these schools. They're better on recruiting in one sport than the other, because typically a school is not good in multiple sports out of the big sports, football, baseball, basketball kind of thing. Now, hockey, it's only in the northern tier, so we're not going to include hockey in this particular situation. But when we look at the AAC, you've got probably 3 or 4 teams in there that could really do some damage and get into the big dance. And Tulane, Temple, probably the South Florida Bulls as well would certainly be there. And every year in and year out, seems to be the Wichita State Shockers, which have probably one of the funniest mascots in all of college sports. So if you don't know what a shocker is, it's basically the top of the cornstalk. And so when you look at the shocker on the sidelines of a basketball game, you see this enormous, large-headed mascot, and it's just one of the funniest things you've ever seen. If you've never seen the shocker from Wichita State, folks, I would absolutely encourage you to do it. But those are the teams typically that are there over in the AAC. Now, in the A-Sun, the Atlantic Sun, there's a couple of good squads in here, but I think there's really only one, possibly two, that make the big dance. Austin Peay likely will. The Governors, they're pretty good year in and year out, and so is Lipscomb. The Bisons, they sit a game and a half behind Austin Peay. They sit 1 game back in the standing. Queen's University, the Royals, are tied with Austin Peay, but who knows how long that's going to last. But as far as the good squads in this division, or in this conference, it's Austin Peay and Lipscomb, and then I think there's everybody else. I'm not going to include the West Georgia Wolves. Sorry, West Georgia. I know you're in our broadcast area. I just don't see it, just being honest. All right, moving down to the A10, the Atlantic 10. There's a bunch of good basketball played in this conference. I mean, there's a lot of teams. There's probably 5 teams that are going to make the tournament here. And George Mason leading the way. The Patriots 5-0 in conference, 17-1 overall. And no, they are not ranked in, of course, the AP Top 25 or the coaches poll. That's right. We're going to let them have it because George Mason belongs in there. Now, we know year in and year out, the Dayton Flyers are always right there, and they belong in the tournament every year because they're just one of those squads. And they're 4-0, only half a game behind George Mason. The St. Louis Billikens, another quality squad. Every year, boy, they are tough. They're 15-1 overall, 3-0 in conference. And I'm going to also give it to George Washington. Yes, the Revolutionaries. They're 12-5 overall. They sit a game and a half out of first place. And folks, we're over halfway done with college basketball season at this point. Other good squads in this division or in this conference: Davidson, St. Joe's, Richmond, Virginia Commonwealth. These are regular teams in the tournament year in and year out. Even St. Bonnie, the Bonnies, they're 0-3 in conference, but they're 11-5 overall. And the Bonnies are a quality squad. They're in last place at 11-5. That tells you how good the A-10 is. Now, over in the ACC, well, we know what's going on over there. It's Duke, then Clemson, then Miami, Virginia, NC State, Carolina, Syracuse. These squads, seemingly year in and year out, boy, they are good every year. And all the way down to Wake Forest, who's 1-3 in the conference, 10-7 overall. Even Notre Dame, they're at 10-7 overall, 1-3 in conference. Georgia Tech, same as the others. The Cal Golden Bears are 1-3 in conference, but 13-4 overall. I mean, there's some really good basketball being played over in the ACC every year. It's the same damn thing. And so the question is, are they going to get 6 teams? Are they going to get 7 teams into the big dance? We don't really know yet, because a lot of that has to do with what's going on with the Big 12. The Big 12 is playing really well right now. And, of course, the Big 10. So it would seem to me that there's a discussion in the next segment that's going to compare the Big 10, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to come here on the Sports Circus.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't, and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. 800-298-3173. That's 800-298-3173.
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives.
Treatment helped me get my life back. I was so addicted, the only person I could focus on was myself and what I needed. I hit rock bottom and lost everything. Through treatment, I was able to overcome those demons and focus on my family again.
I used until I overdosed and almost died. That was the end of the road for me. After seeking treatment, I now have hope. I learned skills that help me deal with life on life's terms.
800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. 800-426-4994. That's 800-426-4994.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMTV studio, AAMP television. And of course, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates. Just want to make a quick mention that you all need to go visit the Sports Circus store. That's right, at thesportcircus.com. A shameless plug for the circus. Listen, folks, pick up those hats, hoodies, t-shirts, coats, sweatpants, beanie hats, travel mugs, coffee mugs, pillows, blankets, mouse pads, whatever. Pick them up with the Sports Circus logo on them. Lots of cool ideas, lots of cool things to have around. I just got myself some shirts. That's right, I've got myself some shirts. You'd better believe it. And tell you what I will do is I will make one available to, okay, I'm just coming up with this off the cuff here. So listen, this is live, folks. This is not recorded or anything like that. As far as I don't have anything prepped or no notes or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is this. If you could find what date that our 2000th show, the first person to email info@thesportscircus.com. If you're the first person to email the date of the 2000th show for the Sports Circus, I will give you a shirt that has the Sports Circus logo embroidered on it. It's really nice, really nice. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you a choice of either black or white. So you have a choice. So if you're the correct or the first person to email info@thesportscircus.com, if you're the first person to email the answer in, I will send you one of our brand spanking new collared polo shirts with the Sports Circus logo on them, and hopefully you'll be the one. info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. And now for everybody else, everybody that participates and you get the answer right, I'll give you an extra 10% off your first order. Hey, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Actually, I'm wearing one right now. All right. Welcome back to everybody again, TV and radio. And good luck on that question. And hopefully you'll be the first one. I can only give one away, so that's all I'm going to do right now. All right. Back to college basketball. College basketball, look, I just covered the ACC, which is absolutely slammed and loaded with very, very, very good basketball. And you say, you're probably wondering why I gave the applause to the ACC. Well, look, I'm an ACC guy. I'm also a Big Ten guy. And I'm also an Atlantic 10 guy. So I've earned degrees from schools in each one of those. Graduate schools in the ACC and graduate school in the Atlantic 10, undergrad in the Big 10. And so I get out and I support my schools. Absolutely. It doesn't matter how small or how big they are. The reality is I know that good basketball is being played in the ACC just like in the Big 12. I mean, look at the Big 12. The worst team in the Big 12 is still playing 500 ball over halfway through the season. That's insane. With Arizona leading the way, Iowa State right behind them, ranked number 2. Brigham Young. I mean, look, those two teams are 16-0. Brigham Young, 15-1. They're ranked 11. Houston, ranked 7, and they're 15-1. Texas Tech, 12-4, ranked number 15. You see what I'm saying, folks? Even Central Florida, unranked. Central Florida, 13-2. That's right, they're unranked and they're 13-2. That's how good they are. Now going down the trough, Colorado 12-4, unranked. West Virginia 11-5, unranked. Kansas 11-5, unranked. Oklahoma State 13-3, unranked. That's right. And 2 of those 3 losses came where? Well, came right in the conference. That's right. And they lost 1 on a neutral court and 2 away. I mean, that's how good Oak State is, and they are in the lower third of the Big 12. TCU, 11-5. You see what I'm saying here? Even Baylor, and they're winless in the Big 12. They're 0-3, but they're 10-5 overall. I mean, that's how good these squads are. Listen, the Big 12 is no joke. Man, these guys can play. You know who else can play? The Big East. The Big East, perennial tournament teams over and over. UConn, man, we've seen a lot of UConn over the last 3 decades. And where are they? They're ranked number 3 right now. They sit atop the Big East at 6-0, 16-1 overall. Villanova, we all know Villanova, 14-3 overall, 5-1. And Villanova's unranked, I'll have you know. Imagine that. St. John's, 5-1. They only sit 1 game behind UConn, just like Villanova does. They're 12-5. Seton Hall, ranked number 25, is 14-2 overall. Yeah, that's how you got to look at this. But I think the biggest shocker, there's 2 big shockers here in the Big East. The DePaul Blue Demons from my hometown of Chicago, they are awful in Big East play. Ever since they moved to the Big East, they haven't done anything. And to me, it's shocking to see them with 2 wins in the conference. They're 2-4 overall, and they're right smack in the middle of the conference right now. They're not going to finish there. They just don't do very well in conference play. Xavier is behind them, believe it or not, which Xavier, year in and year out, is always competing, and they're right there, either in the dance or right on the cusp. Butler, same thing. Butler, 10-6 overall, but they're 1-4 in conference play. This is how tough the Big East is. Georgetown, same thing as Butler with 1 more loss. Providence, same thing as the other teams. And the biggest shocker is Marquette, the Golden Eagles, who seems to be in the tournament every year. They're in the basement of the Big East. That's how tough the Big East is. In case you don't know, now you do. Now, the Big Sky Conference, the only way the team that's going to end up in the big tournament, in the big dance, is going to be by winning the Big Sky. And right now, it's Portland State. Now, Portland State's been there before. They're 9-5 overall, 3-0 in conference, but a half game behind them are the Grizz from Montana and Montana State, the Bobcats, and Weber State, the Wildcats. They're all a half a game behind Portland State. It's going to be a dogfight all the way through. The Big South, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and this was a team that I had a real close eye on last year, which was High Point. The High Point Panthers are 16-3 overall. They're unranked, 4-0 in conference play, but boy, these guys can play. And every year, seemingly year in and year out, I don't know how they do it, but Winthrop seems to find themselves right in the thick or in the big dance. So those are the 2 teams that typically come out of the Big South Conference. Over in the Big Ten, boy, there's, again, very, very good basketball being played there. As a matter of fact, all the way down through these, 17 teams, I believe, the worst team is Maryland. Remember, they came over from the ACC. Maryland is 7-9. They're in the basement of the Big Ten, but they're 0-5 in conference play. But right now, in first place, it's Nebraska. Who knew? The Cornhuskers would be ranked number 8. They're 16-0. Purdue is 5-0 also in conference. They're tied for first place in conference play, and they're 15-1, ranked number 5, which they should be probably ranked number 3. Michigan State ranked number 12, 15-2 overall, 5-1 in conference play, a half a game behind the pace. Michigan just lost their game to Wisconsin. Michigan 14-1. They were ranked number 2. They're down to number 4. And they're 4-1 in conference, one game behind Purdue and Nebraska. Illinois, the Fighting Illini, same thing as Michigan, but they're 13-3 overall. Wisconsin 12-5 overall, 4-2 in conference play. Folks, this is an awfully tough conference, and I mean tough. So you could say whatever you want about the size or the scope of the Big Ten, but the Big 12, the Big Ten, and the ACC really rule supreme. But remember, there's good basketball being played in other conferences too. We're going to run through these quickly. UC Irvine was there last year. Watch out for them this year again. The Anteaters, the Aardvarks, those guys are 12-6 overall. They're a half a game in front of the Rainbow Warriors from Hawaii in the Big West Conference. And also the Tritons of San Diego, UC San Diego. That's right. Those guys are playing really good ball at 13-4 as well. They were in the Big Dance, if I'm not mistaken, the year previous. Over in the Coastal Athletic, and that is run typically by UNC Wilmington. Year in and year out, they're over there, and they're probably going to be there again. Just looking up and down the entire conference, I don't see a hell of a lot of competitive basketball there. Conference USA, a couple of decent squads in there. Liberty leads the way, one game ahead of the Blue Raiders of Middle Tennessee, and Missouri State, the Bears. Boy, Missouri State has really done a lot with their athletic programs. In fact, we're going to give Missouri State a nice round of applause. They really did it in football. They're doing it in basketball. Even Jacksonville State doing the same thing. They're out of Alabama, not Florida. And Western Kentucky, year in and year out, they always compete. Over in the Horizon League, it's Wright State, the perennial tough guys of the Horizon League. They're showing the way ahead of Green Bay, the Phoenix, and Oakland out of Detroit. Oakland, the Golden Grizzlies. That's right. And so as you look down to the Ivies, right now it's Dartmouth and Princeton. Usually Princeton pulls away in that one. In the Metro Athletic, we have St. Peter's, a very good squad year in and year out. Quinnipiac is 12-5, and they sit a half game out of first place. Canisius is usually a pretty good squad as well. Over in the Mid-American, it's Miami, the Redhawks, and then the Akron Zips sit a game and a half behind them, but Miami is undefeated at 18-0, and they're not even ranked. That's how tough college basketball is these days. The Mid-American or Mid-Eastern Athletic, NC Central, showing the way along with Maryland Eastern Shore. Those are the two teams that are fighting it out for first in the Missouri Valley. Another really tough division has the Racers of Murray State 15-3, just over the Belmont Bruins at 16-3, 6-2 overall. And the Bradley Braves, Bradley's making a comeback out of Illinois, along with Illinois State right behind Bradley, 12-6 and 12-5, and even Northern Iowa, the perennial tough guys of that division or that conference, they're 12-6, 3 games off the pace. The Mountain West is Utah State, San Diego State, and then New Mexico. And then there's a pack of other teams that you just scratch your head and say, why are they in there? Northeast Conference, Long Island, a very good squad over there, along with Central Connecticut. Fairleigh Dickinson typically struggles, and they continue to struggle. St. Francis, a decent squad, but not this year. Ohio Valley is UT Martin, the Skyhawks. They are the class of that conference, and they continue to show the way. In the Patriot, it's Colgate and Navy. They are a half a game apart from one another. In the Southeast Conference, of course, it's Vanderbilt, Texas A&M. Vanderbilt 16-0. Ranked number 10, Texas A&M, unranked at 13-3. Everybody else, a big fat question mark. Over in the Southern Conference, ETSU, they show the way along with Furman. They're going to battle it out to the end. The Southland has McNeese and Stephen F. Austin and Nichols. 3-way tie for first. Southwest Athletic Conference, Prairie View, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Those are the two you typically see in the Summit. North Dakota State, the Sun Belt, Southern Miss. The West Coast Conference has Gonzaga and St. Mary's and Santa Clara. Those three battling it out every year. And in the WAC, it's Utah Valley and UT Arlington. And that's going to round it up for college basketball. Back here in 23 hours, right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Why pay retail for your next car? Just visit beepinautos.com to find your new-to-you car or truck. They find cars for people, even when cars are hard to find. So just go to beepinautos.com and click on Find Me a Car, and they find your perfect car on the wholesale market. Beepinautos.com. They're a car concierge. Beepinautos.com. BEEPIN autos.com. Beepinautos.com. Now you have a friend in the car business when you need it most. Trusted since 2013. Just click Find Me a Car at beepinautos.com.
I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.